from Fox 56 Sports and Lexington Sporting Club. This is Around the Pitch.
Good morning and happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome into Around the Pitch, a show dedicated to Central Kentucky's professional soccer club, the Lexington Sporting Club. I'm your host, Colby Wilson. Happy to be with you all this morning, and thank you for tuning in. It's been a busy week around the pitch. LSC goalkeeper Logan Ketterer has played extremely well the past few weeks, coming up with big-time saves for his team. And as a veteran, he's naturally stepped into a leadership role that he's learning to embrace. Well, Logan, first of all, I just saw you and your wife had a baby. Congrats on that. First of all, I wanted to tell you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
I talked to Coach Walzer last week, and the first thing he said about you was you carry yourself like a pro. You have a wealth of experience, but do you still feel like you're learning things about yourself even to this point in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I think goalkeeping is an interesting position because, I'm 31, but that's also, young to middle of the road.
Absolutely.
Like Casey Keller played until he's 40. I know multiple that have played till upper 30s and 40s, and it's an interesting thing because I've seen a lot of shots, and maybe I've seen more shots than some, but like I've been in so many situations, but it obviously always continuing and slightly new, but I've also seen a lot, so it's fun.
I know as an athlete it's hard to give yourself credit. I know it is all about the team. I understand that, but you've had some incredible saves and games the past few weeks. How do you continue to build on that and hopefully continue that positivity and relay it down the line to your team?
Yeah, I told the guys maybe 5 games into the season, I felt like I hadn't made that big save yet to kind of keep us in a game, and I was like, just keep going, keep working through it. It'll come. I'll make a big save that'll keep us in a game. These things just take time sometimes, and sometimes it's longer than others, but the performances have been good. We've been on the ball a lot. We're creating plenty of chances. There's just something's holding us back, and once it comes, I think it's going to be floodgates are going to open.
When you came to Lexington, you made a quote that said you either succeed or you fail, and there's a lot of things that go into success. What do you think that is for this specific team?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, as a goalkeeper more, I'll talk about myself. Like, it's success or fail is the ball in the net or not. So however I can make it happen, whether that's moving a defender in the right spot or making a save or putting your body on the line, whatever it is, that's success. And they say defending wins championships, right?
Absolutely.
Like anyone can score a goal, but you have to keep them out, and then that gives you the opportunity to go win a game.
Obviously, this Lexington community has seen you on this field, seen what you can do, but they don't really get to know who Logan is outside of the field. I kind of just gave them a little tidbit. You just had a baby, but can you tell them a little bit about yourself, something that they wouldn't be able to know about you just watching you on the field?
Little about myself. I've been all over the place. I've moved to different countries. I was in Canada, down in El Paso, Texas for a while, Columbus, Portland. I've been all over, so I do enjoy different foods and different things. Learned a little Spanish in Texas, learned a little French in Canada. So
very cool.
I'm not saying that I'm fluent in any way. I tried. I took college courses for both. I tried. I did had tutors and did some Duolingo, and so I like being able to try. My accent is awful. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm from Wisconsin. Like I can't roll my R's. I can't do that. But I do try and try to learn where I'm from. So I'm excited to get in Kentucky. I'm going to wait for the off season to dive into the bourbon a little bit, but I am excited to try. I've never really done it much.
Thank you so much, Logan, for taking the time. We're excited to see how the rest of the season goes.
Thank you.
Yep. Well, sports are always hard because you put a lot at risk. Of course, that includes injuries that are capable of happening at any point. Well, that time came for forward Natalie Higgins in the preseason, but she's found a way to get back on the pitch. Well, first of all, Natalie, I have to shout you out because you are a Cali girl and you played soccer in Oregon, so we both relate on that level. I do have to ask you, being a West Coast girl, now coming to Kentucky, how has that adjustment been?
It's been an adjustment for sure.
Yeah.
I just love the beach, so I've had to, keep that at bay and just enjoy there. Kentucky has great coffee shops, which
Absolutely.
I love, so that's been my outlet.
Any coffee shop in particular?
Kentucky Native is a good one.
Okay.
There's Manchester Coffee's nice.
Oh, yes.
There's some good ones.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna have to check some of those out.
Definitely.
You have not had the ideal journey. I'm sure it's not what you expected. Went down in preseason with a severe leg injury. Kind of what were the emotions as soon as that happened?
Oh, it was devastating.
Yeah.
Just truly devastating. I had worked so hard to, get signed here, and preseason was going great, and you know, I just love the team, so I was excited for the season to, you know, help the team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just truly devastated.
Well, we turned that devastation into happiness come that Dallas Trinity game. What were those emotions as you ran onto that field?
Oh my goodness, that was probably like top 5 moments of my career. One, just like all the hard work to come back, and then my family flew out to be there.
That's awesome.
So it was just such a special moment for me, and then just to be back on that grass again. And I had my first surgeon actually told me like this was going to be career ending. So just like having that like motivation also to get back out there was just like such a cool feeling and just moment for me.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you went home to do rehab.
I did my rehab at home.
So kind of what was your mindset? What were you telling yourself as you were going through that process in hopes that you could finally get back
Yeah,
this season?
definitely. I think, you know, my motivation were my teammates, this club. Like I wanted to prove not only to myself, but to this club and to my teammates that I'm going to do everything I can to get back out there. And that's what I did.
And now that you're back, are you feeling brand new? How's the ankle? How are we feeling?
Yeah, there's some adjustments, just, you know, getting the rust out and stuff, but there's no better feeling than doing what you love. And it's so much fun, and I'm really enjoying it. And
you've had a plethora of experience playing professional soccer. There's some younger women on this team. How have you kind of been a role model to them in the time that you have had? And have you given them, you know, any tidbits that can help them out through their journey?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm a big about encouragement and positivity, and you know, they make a mistake, it's okay, but like how can you get that next rep better? And I mean, yeah, we do have a young team, so doing what I can in my role. I'm not a big like loud person, but I like to be a role model in how I work on the field and just encouraging them.
Speaking on to that experience as well, obviously wins and losses, they come and go. It's a roller coaster, there's no doubt about that. This team hasn't exactly gotten the results they've wanted to. As someone that has experience, an older player, kind of what's been your message to them throughout this really up and down journey?
Yeah, no, it's been tough, definitely, and like having to watch from afar and, you know, seeing the losses and now being back in training. It's just, you know, what can we grow? How can we grow from that last game? What can we learn from that, and what can we be better at for the next game?
Yeah, as the season comes to an end, kind of, you haven't had that much time, of course, with the injury, but going into the off season a little bit, what's going to be some goals for you, and kind of, is it just still staying in rehab and trying to get back?
Yeah, just getting game ready, and you know, it's just going to take time, but I'm excited to feel like, you know, back into game form and game fitness, so that's what I'll be focusing on.
I will say there's 3 more games in the season, so still some things to play for.
Definitely.
What is your message to the Lexington community as to why they need to be in these stands right here to show up for these teams the last 3
if it's
games?
not the puppies coming on Saturday, no. But you know, we're not going to take our foot off the gas. We're going to keep going, and this is a team that doesn't give up. And you know, the results haven't been there, but you're never going to see a team that's just out there that's not working 110%. And I think that should be motivation, you know, for the little girls, little boys in the stands to know, like, you know, it might not be going our way, but we're going to keep pushing forward.
Hey, watch out for Natalie. Her comeback is going to be great. Well, we have plenty more to come right here on Around the Pitch, including part 2 of my interview with 2 Lexington Sporting Club stars, breaking down the X's and O's of their game plan.
You're watching Around the Pitch with Lexington Sporting Club.
Welcome back. Nick Firmino has quite the resume that he's continued to build right here in Lexington. I had the chance to sit down with him this week and hear about both him and the team's progression so far this season. Nick, thanks for sitting down with me, taking some time out of your day. I appreciate it. You definitely made a name for yourself in Atlanta. There's no doubt about that. How have you seen you progress personally since your time here in Lexington?
Since I've been here in Lexington?
Yeah.
I would say all around as a player in person, I feel like the staff has given me a tremendous amount of confidence. The players have given me a tremendous amount of confidence. And, you know, we've been trying to get better as a team, and I've been trying to get better individually every game and keep doing that.
You look at your resume and you are a goal scorer. That's for sure. Hasn't exactly come for this team now, but how do you use your abilities to try and get more points on the board?
Just try to bring quality to the attack, you know, create chances, finish chances. Obviously, you know, I feel like I've been missing a couple, but, you know, it'll come good soon.
Absolutely. As a player with lots of experience, how have you made an impact on these younger guys and kind of shown them what it looks like to play professional soccer?
You try to lead by example. You know, I was a young guy once, and you know they kind of look up to you in a way because you've been doing it for a while now. So you just try to do the right things, and hopefully they follow.
Like you kind of said, with experience brings leadership, just kind of natural leadership. You're expected to lead. How have you embraced that role here in Lexington, especially on a team where everybody kind of came in and it was all new faces?
Yeah, no, it's easier when you have leaders around you as well. You know, guys like Speedy, guys like Marcus, and Sophie as well. You know, it just helps when it's by committee. Guys listen and guys see the example, and it's easier to see what you need to do when guys are doing it every day.
What's it been like to play with Speedy, Marcus, Logan, guys like that who have made a name for themselves in their career as well?
It's probably the best feeling. It's easier to play with, you know, with really good players, and they make you better every day. And you know, you try to set an example for like you said, the younger guys, and you know, so they can do the same.
I know winning obviously is fun, but when you're kind of on that roller coaster of the season, some wins, some losses, it's kind of hard to stay level-headed. How have you personally kind of just kept the main thing as you guys kind of figure yourself out so far this season?
Well, we talk about the process a lot, you know, and falling in love with the process and not the results. And we know the results will come our way if we keep doing what we know we should do. What's
it like playing for Coach Boss? His style of play, his personality, how do you feel like the team has adjusted to that so far?
Well, he loves the ball, and you know, we love the ball as well. So if you're a player that likes to be in possession, this is the perfect system for you. And, you know, like we said, the results haven't come our way, but it'll come good soon.
Please tell the Lexington community a little bit about yourself. We see Nick on the field, but who is Nick outside of the field?
Outside of the field, that's a good question. I would probably say I like to joke around a lot, you know, have fun, chill with friends. And when I'm away from the game, I like to be away from the game fully, you know?
You're fully uncharged. You don't want to
fully uncharged.
Would you watch soccer, or are you like, no, I don't want to do anything?
I will sometimes if it's a big game. Champions League, stuff like that.
Fair. Yeah. We're looking forward to the rest of the season. Thanks for sitting down with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. A couple weeks ago, I hit the pitch with Nicole Vernis and Hannah White. It was a great conversation, and we were only able to give you a snippet of what we talked about, but now here's part 2 of our conversation. Talking more about the X's and O's, how are you guys feeling so far mentally? I know it's 5 games left in the season. Kind of what are you guys feeling so far and trying to at least finish strong at this point in the season?
Yeah, honestly, the transition from college is pretty different because in college it was 2 games a week and you also had school to focus on. Right. So I think it's a lot less mentally exhausting being here where you don't have to focus on school as well, and you only have 1 game a week, which I think is really nice.
Unless last week when we had 3.
Yeah, except for last week. I think it's been nice to have that ability to mentally and physically recover from game to game. Yeah. So I think that although we have had 11 games already, I mean, for me, I'm like fired up at the opportunity to play 5 more games before we get to go home. And we also weren't here for the first half of the season, so for us, like, we're still adjusting to this transition. Absolutely. So I mean, I'm really excited for what's left to come.
And Hannah, for you, kind of
same thing, and I would 100% agree. I feel like I was so nervous coming into the pro environment because you've just heard, I mean, you hear not like horror stories, but it's just a big transition, and like you really don't know what to expect. And yes, like we haven't won in like a lot of games and done like our absolute best in terms of like on the field and performance wise, but honestly I couldn't have asked for like a better transition into the pro environment. I feel like the girls here were super welcoming, and staff, and I mean, like obviously in this video you can see our stadium, it's absolutely insane, and just everything we have access to is so nice. And so I think just the transition, I'm so grateful for how it went because it could have been completely different. And yeah, I mean, honestly, the last 5 games, I mean, we're playing soccer for our job, so there's nothing really negative to look at it. And honestly, I'm just really excited for the next 5 games.
Coming up after the break, we're looking at the defensive side of the game with number 24 himself, Kieran Sargent.
You're watching Around the Pitch with Lexington Sporting Club. This is Around the Pitch with Lexington Sporting Club.
The LSC men's team has not conceded very many goals. That's something it takes pride in. We heard from goalkeeper Logan Ketterer early on in the show, and now we hear from one of the younger defenders, Kieran Sargent, who's continuing to learn the ropes of professional soccer. Karen, thank you so much for taking some time to sit down with me. We were just talking off camera about you growing up overseas. Tell me a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, so I was initially born in Houston, but as soon as I was born, I moved to this Australia, where my dad's from. I was there for around 5 years, and that was kind of where I first started playing soccer. My parents put me in it essentially as soon as I could walk.
Wow.
His work brought us to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He does oil and gas, so I was there for around 8 years. That's where I kind of realized that I loved the game, wanted to do it as I continued to get older. And when I was around 13, we moved back to the States, where my mom's side of the family's from, and I've been there ever since.
I know a lot of your soccer experience was in Houston. So what was it like coming from Texas? I have family in Texas, and they always say Texas is the best. So what was it like coming from there to Lexington? What's that transition been like?
Yeah, so I mean, I joined the Houston Dynamo Academy when I was a freshman in high school. I think that's when things got a little bit more serious for me. Being a part of that academy and an MLS academy environment, it was a big deal for me. And then obviously I went to college for a bit. Was lucky enough to sign pro with the Houston Dynamo, and you know, coming to Lexington, you know, being on loan, it's an opportunity for me, obviously, to grow as a player, gain experience, and I think that has been something that's been evident as soon as I've been here, playing a lot of minutes with grown men, and I think it's been a big learning opportunity so far this year that I'm super grateful for.
You aren't a team that concedes very many goals. As a defender, what's that connection been like between you and your other defenders? And do you think that plays a significant part in why there haven't been many goals scored?
I think so, yeah. I think, funnily enough, one of the big things I wanted to work on personally was my defense. You know, when I came here, about dealing with guys that were bigger, that stronger, faster. And I think throughout preseason, I've kind of you know, driven that point, how good of a defender can I be? And I think all the other guys that are on the back line with me have been pretty in sync with that. And our connection throughout the months that we've been together so far, I know it's been not that long, but I think it's been pretty clear that conceding goals is going to be something hard for us to, you know, put on the other team.
You spoke on it a little bit, but obviously a younger player. What's it been like to play with guys like Speedy Williams, Nick Firmino, people that have had a plethora of experience in their careers, and what have you learned from them so far?
Yeah, this is my second year pro, and I think the biggest thing I took away from my first year was just seeing all the professionals, all the veterans on the team from last year, just learning from them, their habits, the way they like to play, all that stuff, and I think it's the same here. Speedy, he's someone that's kind of took me under his wing a little bit. You know, he's pulled me for side conversations. I've been driven him from the gym to the training, so I've been able to have side conversations with him, and he's just a really good guy. And I've been able to learn from Logan, Speedy, Marcus. They're all really good at talking to you, and so it makes you feel like you belong, which is nice.
Absolutely. I know that the higher the level you go, you start to learn more about yourself because eventually you have to. What have you learned about yourself so far? And give yourself some credit. Are you kind of proud of the progress you've made?
I think so, yeah. Obviously, coming from college soccer to now being a professional, I think it's difficult for anyone in that position, and I think the hardest thing for me during my first year was kind of finding that confidence in myself, because, you know, you're stepping into a completely new environment, and I think the biggest thing that I've gained from coming here was kind of finding that confidence again.
Still ahead on Around the Pitch, we're hearing the story behind one player's connection to the number they wear.
You're watching Around the Pitch with Lexington Sporting Club. This is Around the Pitch with Lexington Sporting Club.
If you've played a sport before, you know there is a certain connection between an athlete and the number they wear. We caught up with Shay Moyer for the meaning behind her number.
Hi everyone, I'm Shay Moyer. I'm number 25 for Lexington Sporting Club. The reason I chose number 25 is a bit strange. I was one of the last people to sign for Lexington, so the numbers were a bit limited at the time, but there were still like a few. It was like 14, 19, and then anything past 24. And I was asking all my friends, family, like, what should I choose? Should I choose 14, 19? And for some reason, like 25 was like sitting so well in my heart. But everyone I asked was like, why would you choose that? That's such a weird number. And I was like, no, it's like good, it's perfect. The time that I signed, I was 25 years old, so it felt like serendipitous in a way. but no one liked it. Everyone I talked to was like, that's so weird, choose 14. And I was like, no, 25. And then I come to realize that my favorite song at the time, the chorus, was something like, it kept repeating the number 25. It was like, it don't matter if it's 25 days, 25 months, something like that. And I think it was like subconsciously seeping into my mind. And that's why I like the number 25 so much. But I'm happy I have it. And that's the reason I chose 25.
That wraps up our morning here on Around the Pitch. Thank you all so much for joining us. We hope you have a great rest of your Sunday.